Like I will go to online session, this folder, then I'll go to business analytics, then let's say I go to Python scripts. Okay, now if I want to work in this folder, this is my this folder. I want to save everything, I want to extract all the data, I want to keep the output or export the data in this particular folder. Okay, then I can directly navigate to this folder and start the session rather than giving the path each and every time. Okay, so let's say I just open a new session for me. So if you go back there, one more untitled will be popped up. Okay, and if you go and rename it, class, let's consider this as one, class one, rename it. So this file got renamed, this is class one. Okay, and if you want to access any file, okay, so you can place the file here and directly access it. Okay, so if you just check it, what is the present working directory, pwd present working directory, and check, so you are in this Python script where you were. Okay, so I'll delete this, I'll also delete this. Now let's come back to our folder. So here is where we are working. Now the first thing that we should start, because Python is a software which is an application or a language that completely works on a package as far as uh, analytics is concerned. Okay, so you can just think of it as an app of a smartphone. Smartphone without app is useless, you cannot do anything. Okay, just basic feature, call, SMS. But if you want to use its extended feature or the advanced feature, you need to have related apps. And to download the app, you need to go to App Store or Google Play. So here in the same line, we have uh, 2-3 aspects. Basically, all the packages that we'll use will be pre-installed in Anaconda. Okay, and that's the reason it is a application of 450 MB. Okay, so you just need to write import whatever package you want to use. So for us, majorly, we'll be revolving around pandas. Okay, we'll be revolving around Numpy. Okay, we'll also see few bits and pieces of like we need to learn a lot of visualization. So for visualization, we have matplotlib. Okay, for some, if we get time and we get into modeling, okay, linear regression type, so we'll have to use SciPy. So for all activities that we'll perform, okay, so we have related packages. Okay, so the pandas is basically, if anybody here is well acquainted with R, okay, so it's a like it's a package which gives you R like data handling capabilities. This is for data handling. Okay, NumPy is called numerical Python. Numerical py means Python. Okay, so if you want to handle big numbers, if you want to do some calculations and all, so NumPy, you need to import NumPython. Okay, Matplotlib is used for visualization extensively, advanced visualization. Okay, and this is for ML and business analytics. All good. So if you even try, I'll just this will might take time, so I'll just comment this. Okay. For commenting, we use hash. Okay, for single line comment, we use hash. If you want to add another cell, and if you want to do something, if you want to do some multiple comments, multiple line comments, so you have this provision of uh, like this. This is not happening here. align comments is some reason. Okay, so I'll just comment this too and I'll just import. So you need to write import pandas and import numpy. Now there's one small crux in this. Generally when we call pandas, okay, we'll have to call again and again, right? So to use each activity, to use each feature, we'll have to call pandas. If you want to import something, if you want to do some sorting, data cleaning, okay, uh, anything, if you want to create new columns, so we'll have to create pandas again and again. We have to call, so it gets instantiated as pandas. Okay, so a calling again with full name sometimes makes your code uselessly look big, larger, okay, in length. So we alias it so that it becomes easier. So we use, how do we do aliasing? It's on same line as PD. So generally wherever you find, you'll find this has become a standard. Like people just write import pandas as PD, as is your alias, and PD is now panda. Similarly, for numpy we write as np. Okay, then you run it. It will take few seconds. Okay, and I'm pretty sure like you all will be able to run this. If in case you are facing an issue, okay, that means pandas is not there in your system. Okay, so let's get into that mode now. Now we talked about environment yesterday. Okay, so this is the environment, Anaconda environment. You just need to go to terminal, open terminal. Okay, just click on terminal. You'll get this. If you want to run it in your system, well and good, you can run it, but you'll get this. And here you can you can install it. That means it is not there in your system if you want to install it. So how will you install? Here is, you write same command, import pandas as PD. Okay, okay, so here you need to write pip install pandas. Okay, since I already have it, I'll not run. It will take time to download. Okay, so what we did is we went to terminal, import pandas, pip install pandas. We wrote this. We for to do this activity, I explicitly need to go to terminal and write the code. Okay, but there's a shortcut to this. If you want to do this, you want to do the same thing from terminal, from this IPython notebook, you just need to give a magic function, so which is called exclamation. Okay, pip install pandas. Okay, so this will go to terminal, it will run the code, and it will bring back the package that you have downloaded. Right, so this is for okay, good. Now since we how will you check that this got imported properly or not? Okay, so how do we check it? Since our package name is PD, let's say PD, and you press dot, okay, and press tab. So it is PD dot. Yeah, so if you see this, you get a lot of options. That means you have this package has been installed, pd.csv. Okay, okay, let's see numpy if that is installed or not. np dot series. So this also got installed. So you get a lot of methods associated with it. Okay, now basically I generally start with data structures, but before we go to data structures, let's understand the basic operations that we do in Python. Okay, and then we can get into data structures and functions. Any questions so far in imports?
Hi. While I am installing that
Uh-huh.
Panda terminal, I'm getting this error like import is not recognized as an internal or external command.
Where are you installing it?
Terminal.
No, so don't. If you want to do it in terminal, you'll have to write pip.
Okay, I wrote like import pandas as PD.
No. That you need to write it in the notebook if you want to do
Okay.
it. Okay.
Okay.
So if you want to, first of all, like before doing it in the terminal, but just check it if you have it or not. I'm 100% sure it should be there in your
Okay.
notebook only,
Okay.
because Anaconda comes with predefined all the packages that we regularly use.
Okay. I'll check.
Yeah. Now, as I said, this was about import. Now let's get into the variable and operations. That is more important because that is what we are going to do in complete session. So there are two things that you need to understand first before we go to some examples. That we have two operators almost in all programming language, but when you talk about Python and R, so these are the two operators. We need to understand the difference because people generally get confused here. One is equal to, and this is called your assignment operator. Okay. Other is double equal to, which is called your comparison operator. Now what is this? So example is, if I write x is equal to 2, okay, so what it is doing is it is assigning the value of 2, whatever a 2 is, it is assigning to x. Now x somewhere in the memory is saving 2 and occupying x is occupying memory in the system and saving 2. Okay, so if I run this, it runs successfully, and if any time, okay, after executing the input 27, if I just type x, my expectation is I'll get 2 as a return. Okay, I got 2 as a return because we have stored 2. Okay, 1 minute, can you hold on for a minute please? Yeah. Yeah, correct. So pip install pandas or conda install panda, the both will work. And conda I have not discussed because conda is very specific to your anaconda. Okay, it only works in anaconda. If you talk about any other distribution of Python, conda will not work there. So pip is a universal thing that we have always learned from basics of Python. So you can use any one of those. Okay, and pip will if you can use pip in this format, exclamation pip install panda from terminal from this notebook. I'm not sure if conda will work like this. Okay, yeah, let's get back to our discussion. So when I said x is equal to 2, it means that I'm assigning value of 2 to x, and whenever I want, I can retrieve it, okay, by just calling it. So this is assignment and this is calling. On the other hand, if you talk about uh, 2 equal to 3, so what I'm doing here is I'm comparing 2 and 3. So it will do the actual comparison and it will give you a Boolean output. So what is Boolean output? True or false? So it will compare if 2 is equal to 3. Obviously it's not. Okay, so it will give you false. No, it's not equal to. Now if I say 2 equal to x, so it will say true because in x I have stored 2 and I'm comparing 2 is equal to 2. It is similar to this, 2 equal to 2. If I run this, that will also give me true. Okay, and this is bidirectional. If you can do that, x is equal to 2 as well. Okay, gives you true. 2 is equal to 2. So like, is it clear? Like, what is the difference? Because generally people confuse this, like why whenever I'm looping, whenever I'm writing if condition, y equal to, why not double equal to? Okay, so that is the reason. If I'm comparing something, comparison will always come with double equal to, the comparison operator. Okay, and single equal to is assignment. You are assigning some value to some other variable. Okay. Now, since this is completely on memory basis, a variable stores occupies memory and space and saves your variable. So the moment you change with some other number, so it overwrites the existing number. So earlier x was equal to 2, now x becomes 3. Okay. Now true is equal to true. Okay, you can even do that. Boolean operators. Boolean is comparable. Okay. Now let's get into some examples. Before that, yeah. So let's get into some example. So I am assigning x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 5, x, y is equal to hey. So what is the difference? If I run this, and come to next cell. So if I write type of x, okay, before that, what are the different types of mm, data structures, or you can say data types you are aware of? We are aware with integer, right? We are aware with what? Decimal, double, float, whatever. Different language, different name. Decimal or sometime double, sometime float in different language. Okay. And then we have a very important component called string. Okay, any characters. Agree? We have been knowing this. Like this is similar across languages. So I'll just put this in here. Integer, decimal, float. I'll put it in markdown. So how do we create markdown? Okay, just take a shortcut. Go to any cell. Okay, let's say I created this. This is a normal cell. I'll just press escape and M. Escape M. Okay, this is a markdown. If I give a single hash, it is giving me h1. If I give double hash, h2, h3, h4, h5. Okay, so whatever you want. This is a shortcut. You can even do this. Let's say you go to normal cell, go here. This if you see the top up and button drop down, here it says code. So you can write code here. But if you want to make it a markdown, I mean like it is used for creating documents and comments and also that it becomes easier for you to understand later down the line. So you go here, just select markdown. Okay, it becomes a markdown. You can use hash to comment whichever size you want. Okay, so you'll get this small shortcuts in between and you'll get acquainted to it, no worries. So I ran this, and after running it I was checking what is x, type of x. So it says integer. And guys, just this seems very small, but when you start coding, when you start writing actual code, it really becomes very crucial, because like some model or some activities will accept integer. You have a character as a, so how will you convert, how will you know which data type it is? So in that way it becomes very crucial. So type of x is your integer. Then if you just take type of y, again it will be integer. Okay, type of xy, so it is string, str. Agree? Str. Now to print, so if if I want to print anything, let's say I want to show something to the user or in the terminal, I write print. So this is little anonymous. I mean, in your system, you can write print something like this, Sajid, okay, which will give error in my system. I'm getting error here, okay, because in your system it might work fine. So it is very, I don't know, I've never researched on this, but it varies from system to system. Sometimes without bracket it works, but in my system always they want bracket. Okay, I need to give bracket in the string, then only it will work. Okay, so the reason was I wanted to show you how the error looks like. If you have any error, okay, so like the error which I got now, I read the error, and that is how I correct my program. I correct the syntax. Missing parenthesis in call print. Did you mean in bracket? So it also has intelligence, and it is saying that this is how you can correct your syntax. Okay, I can simply copy this and paste it here. Okay, and run it. It runs perfectly fine. Okay, so this is how it works. Print. Now printing here I'm printing what, x plus y. So I'm trying to do some calculations, and then I'm trying to print a string. So let's do it. So I get 7 hey. I just I did a sum of these two, x plus y and hey. Okay, now several ways to declare. If you want to have one particular values, and this is very specific to Python. Before that, just try and understand this. X is equal to 10. Okay, and then I'm calling x. I'm getting x is not defined. Any idea? Any idea why it says, because x I have defined as 10. I also ran it, but it says when I'm calling it, it says x is not defined. Okay, so if you, okay, I got some capital correct. So the one I'm calling, right, Minmoy, so that is the difference. Okay, so the one I declared was x, small x. Okay, and what the one I'm calling is caps x. Okay, so this says this clearly signifies that Python is a case sensitive language. Okay, so you need to take care of, I mean, you need to take extra care of the cases. Okay, this eventually will become your habit. You don't need to take care of each and every time, but in initial time, when you get an error where you have already declared a variable, function, data structures, okay, and when you try to call it, it gives you an error. The moment you say name x is not defined, that means it does not exist in the memory. There is something wrong with your variable. It does not exist. So you need to take care of the case, and case is like it's everywhere. So example, if I want to show you under NumPy, when we deal with real data, when we import data, so we convert the uh, numbers into a series, okay, which we'll see in subsequent classes. Now that is called series. If I type s, okay, I will never see series coming in. It is not there, okay, because the method name is, it starts from caps s, okay, and then s, if you write, then only it will so it comes with caps basically. Okay, so if you take example of pandas pd dot read dot csv, okay, you get all the reads. Okay, the moment you type caps apps, so you don't get read, it will not come. You just have one range index. So that is the difference. Okay, so that you need to take care of. So whenever I want to assign multiple, like same value to multiple variable, which we don't do very, but yeah, just to have a shorthand of it. So we do like this: x is equal to y is equal to 1. Okay, and then run it, print, you get this. Okay, we have similar thing in R. If anyone of you have worked in R, so we can do the similar thing in R as well. Okay, so it's more of a replication of our way of writing code in this data handling part. Now let's get into operators. Operators are more or less same across language, but yeah, how do we write and how do we use it is very important. And let's understand that. So I will take up one example and try to wrap up all the operators very fast. So let's say I have x is equal to 10 and y is equal to let's say 4. Okay, these are my two variables I'm declaring. And if I do uh, x plus y, I get my summation 14. Okay, similarly x minus y, x divided by y. So now let's get into x modular y. So any idea what this modular y is? X mod y. So it gives you a remainder. Okay, so if I want to write it here, so modular is used for uh, your remainder, or division, you can say division with remainder. Okay, so if I write x modular y, so I'll get x 10 divided by 4, and what is remaining? 2, right? So you get 2 as output. Okay, then multiplication x into y. Okay, you get a multiplication. The moment you write a double asterisk, so you get power 10 to the power 40. Okay, so you get 1000, 10 to the power 40, 10 to the power 4, sorry. Okay, and when you do this is actual division, and this gives you the actual. If you have something in decimal, you will also get something in decimal. This gives you the like how many times it's getting divided for. Okay, so there are a couple of examples here, the same line. Yeah, so one thing that you can look at here is 1 divided by 2. Okay, what should be the output? 0.5, right, guys? If I talk about 1 divided by 2, it is 0.5, right? If I even run, let me check it. It will give you 0.5 here, 0.5. But why I was getting 0 is that was purposefully I wrote, because uh, it is rounding off. Okay, if I want to write integer, if I want to get 0, I mean like round of value, I just need to write integer, and it, because 0.5 is not an integer, it's a float. Okay, it will return 0 for you. Okay. Now, since we have already discussed like comparison one, we'll discuss the remaining operators. It comes in a relational operator, and relational operator is very important when you do any sort of data handling. Okay, because it builds the logic. So this is used for building logic and comparison. So here we'll see this. If I want to see, let's say z and y equal to 2. So if these are my two values, so here I can use equal to, greater than equal to, not equal to. How we use it? So x not equal to y, sorry, z not equal to y. This says not equal to. So if it is not equal to, based on that again you will get a Boolean result, true or false. Okay, it is not equal to actually. Z and y are not equal. Okay, so if I write z greater than equal to y, again Boolean output. So this all entire relational operator, okay, they all have Boolean output. You don't get numbers or something as output, you get Boolean, true or false. Clear? So less than equal. So I guess we all have worked with these operators, okay, in Excel as well. Now we have bitwise operator. In bitwise operator, which is most important is and or. So let's see and or quickly. Do it here. So again, bitwise operator gives you Boolean output. So if you talk about same example, Zn, Y, so you get print Z, because if you just write Y, you get last output Y as output. But if you want both the output, you just need to print it. So if I write and, okay, what is and used for? If you have worked with the logical table, one or one and one, so it works in the same way. So true and true. What should be the output? True and true.
Should be true.
It should be true, right? So and then if you talk about true and false. So guys, if you are if you look at it, so each time I need to write false and true with the first letter in caps. Okay, if you write normal, okay, it does not even exist. The syntax automatically gets the color gets changed to green. Okay, so false with small f does not exist. And true with small t does not exist. So you need to write caps T, caps F. Okay, so true and false should be false. It is false. So this bitwise operator works in this way. Now we'll see some built-in functions. Okay, so built-in functions and built-in methods. There are two things. Let's see the built-in function first. Okay, like this is fine. So hexadecimal, octadecimal, just to show what built-in function is, it is already predefined and you can directly use it. Okay, for us, what will be important is, let's say, sum. If you want to sum something, okay, if you want max of something, these are all built-in functions. Mean of something, okay. If you want length of something, length of your data, okay, sorry, it's len. I was talking in R, it is length. Okay, then you have range. So all these are built-in function. You can directly use it. Okay, let's skip this, not needed. Yeah, so we'll come to one built-in function that we use very often, very frequently. Okay, when we need to round off some values. So this round function, okay, or yeah, this round function. So where we use it? So if you have a decimal, and which is of, let's say, it's 6 character or a 4 character after decimal, and we just want two values after decimal, so we just need to write round, okay, the float value, the and till how many place you want to limit it. So if you don't want to if you just want the integer part of it, we just need to write this. You just need to write this. It will give you the only the integer part. Print. What is wrong with this? Round. What is round 5? Oh no, I have a bracket, right? Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, yeah. Good mind, good catch. Yeah, so print round. So if you just give this
I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But it will work without print also, no? Just say I wrote
Yeah,
around
yeah,
and then
it will work.
print.
So if you just write, since it was already written, I just copied it. If
Okay.
you even write round, because it's an inbuilt function, right? It does not need help of anything. It is there in Python. You just need to run this. Okay, it gives you 6. Okay, so it rounded off to normal rounding rule. Okay, if you want to round it to some decimal point, let's say till 2, you just need to write 5.62. It will round down to 2. Okay, so this becomes very handy. So even if you talk about log, right? How does log works? Okay, so it will work in it will be there in NumPy. Hello G. So if I want log of see a good example to see, just understand the difference before we run this. So we ran round, order, character, print, and all these things that you see here. We directly called the function, and if you want to see max of like 4 numbers, we'll see. So it is working perfectly, but there will be some advanced functions, okay, which does not exist in Python itself, Python all alone. Okay, and for that, to use some advanced functionality, we have imported advanced packages, and we imported NumPy. Okay, now in NumPy numerical Python, so all numerical activities, let's say log was not existing directly. See here, log does not exist. It does not have any existence in normal base Python. We call a base Python. Okay, for that reason, we imported NumPy and we'll use log. So see, we have log 10, log 2, whatever. So if I was you want to use log 10 and give the value of whatever, so you get 1. Log 10, we all know it's 1. Okay, and this is a function. This is a inbuilt function. There's a difference between here. So you can call it a package function. Okay, now this is difference between, if you want to use the base function, use it as it is, call the function in the system. If you want to use something advanced, you'll have to you bring the package and then call the function. So this is itself a function. Log 10 is a function, but since you're calling it through a package, it becomes a method. Okay, and this becomes a very important question for interview. What's the difference between methods and functions? So this, that is, I'll write it here explicitly, that is a method. You call a method. And how do you call a method? You will have to call a method using uh, like package name and then a function name, and this becomes a method. So log 10 is a method under np in NumPy. Okay, similarly in pandas, order, or say a short, or read, these all are methods. Read CSV is a method. Okay, now the moment you call a method or a function, they accept parameters. Okay, whatever they accept as an input, that is called parameter, which is here. So if you want to see this, this is one of the beauty of IPython notebook, and that if a person is completely new and it wants to start using methods and functions, it is so well documented that if you press tab here, okay, shift tab, you'll get all the options in a pop-up what it accepts. Press plus, you get all the parameters that it accepts, okay, in detail. It has a good documents, proper document. Okay, and you read it, and if you are using it for the first time, you will be very well acquainted like what is read.csv. Okay, similarly, if you go to this round, okay, and give a bracket and press tab. Okay, so we are not aware what round is. Let's say for people to understand what let's take some advanced complex. Who will understand what complex is? Okay, is it because it has like a different meaning in different aspect. If I talk about complex numbers, so we know I and the real number. Okay, if you talk about complex integers or a complex string, what it is. So if you press tab here, shift tab, just make sure it will tell you. If you write complex and numbers, it will take two part, real and imaginary. Okay, and it will give you the real number as output. It will remove the imaginary part. Okay, these are the arguments. Okay, if you want to detail on, just press plus, you'll get it. Okay, so tab and shift tab will be a very good friend of yours in like for if you till the time you want to start learning. Okay, now there's again the third, you have tab, you have shift tab, and there's a question mark. Okay, if you just write question mark, the same thing which you get on tab, shift tab will pop up in the bottom. Okay, you don't need to wait and scroll. It will be there in the bottom, and you can read it and use it. Okay, this question mark, this is called helper function. This is called helper. Question mark is called helper function because it is helping you to understand what it is. So it in itself is a function, question mark. Okay, let's close this. Okay, so I guess let's take examples since we are talking about complex. Let's see how it looks. I'll just print C. Okay, so complex is 5 plus 2j. Okay, let's run this. I get 5 plus 2j, and then if I want to print the absolute value of it, so you know the value of I is at the under root over minus something, so it does that calculation and it gives you this is killing me, so I'll not write this. It gives me the actual value after the calculation. Okay. I guess we need to discuss more on methods. I'll just talk about few because that is what we are 100% depending on methods. We hardly use inbuilt functions of Python. We completely depends on method. So let's take in Numpy what else we have. Numpy. So see, we have absolute value in normal Python as well as we have absolute value in Numpy if you want to use it. Then there will be a lot of angles, all trigonometric function if you want to use like sine. Okay, if I want to have sine value of what is sine value of 120. Okay, it gives me the sine value of 120. Similarly, if I want to use tan value, okay, I'll get that. So you have all numerical thing. I just want to see if I'm having good examples. Gives you the average. Fine, I guess we are good. We'll see a couple of like a lot more examples once we start working into it. Okay, so yeah, complex division mod we have seen. Yeah, so let's use some more inbuilt functions like we'll use comparison. So it says like CMP compare 1 2. Okay, so I'll have to check what exactly this is. So let me, the best thing is this is a situation when it will be helpful. Uh, okay, CMP is a inbuilt function, it does not have a document. CMP not found. So let's see what output it gives. Okay, so it is not existing in my system. power is your power. It is exactly the same, the one which we saw. 10 power 2 gives you 100. So if you can do the same thing using POW function as well. Okay, 10 to the power raised to the power 2 gives you 100. So this is a power thing. Okay, you can use this double asterisk, or you can use this POW function. Okay, range is something which is crucial when we run the loops. Okay, so let's see what range is. So the definition of range is I've written it here. So if I want to print something, or create a series, okay, wherein I'll have something from let's say I want to print from 1, 2, 3 till 100,000. So it is difficult to type again and again. So in that case, what we do is we have this range function wherein we can define the range from where we want to print it. So it's range, again inbuilt function, and you give like you want 10. Okay, so it will run from 0 to 10. By default it takes your 0 as starting. If you want to give some range 10 to 100, okay, so it will take 10 to 100. And if you want to give a steps, okay, let's say I want to print this. Okay, okay, so it gives this. Now if you want to see the use of it, so I'll just mm, write one loop, and I'll show you how range works. Okay, so for I in range 1, 10, okay, print I. So what I did is I'm just trying to loop from I give 10 as a range. I mean, like from 0 to 10. So it will go, in first time it will take 0 for 1, 2, 3, and it will print my entire loop. Okay, this is how range works. So whenever we do if condition, looping condition, range becomes very crucial. It gives the like a lower and upper bound to the loops. Okay, so since we have not started loop, so let's forget about it. But try and understand the range. Range function outputs the integer of the specified range. It can also be used to generate series, okay, by specifying the difference between the two numbers within a particular range. Okay, and by default whatever the output you receive from range, okay, those are list. Okay, now let's that pretty much on assignment things. Let's get into the like if you want to take sometime what happens, you want user to input something. Okay, so we for that we have a very small input function in raw input, wherein you can, if you the moment you will run it, they'll ask for a value. So let's say I run this. Okay, so input will be working directly. Raw input does not exist. It might exist in your system. It is a version issue. So here, if you type any value, let's say Sajid. Okay, so it takes as an input. Okay, and it stores in this variable ABC. Okay, what you need to note here is, uh, you see here, the moment I ran the input function, you see star. Okay, so this star says that something is still running. It is in a running phase. You cannot run anything else. That is the problem. So if you're using Chrome browser, if your default browser is Chrome, so here you'll see a loading button in this browser. It will be that sand glass, sand timing glass. You'll see it here, and that means you cannot do anything else whenever it is start. So when it becomes important to understand is, you imported huge data set in your system, and it is hanging, and you keep on clicking, and that ultimately will crash your browser. Okay, so whenever it is running, just leave it as it is. That means the entire system is in like execution mode. It is executing something. The moment I press enter, the moment I press enter, it stops. Okay, I get input number here, and the values comes and sits here. Because I was like I've taken an input and I'm printing it here. If I want to check, by default input, uh, whatever you input as part of this input function will automatically be a string. Okay, if you want to have a integer input, you'll have to explicitly convert it. Okay, but here if you see what is ABC, the one which I've stored will be your string. It's an str by default. So let's see it. Please enter your name. Okay, and ABC, so ABC is your variable. If you want the one which you are like entering, I'll run this. Please enter your name, Sajid. I'll enter. Please enter your name, Sajid. Okay, try it in your system. If just tell me if what is working for you, raw input or input. And guys, one more thing, this entire notebook on which we are working, this is auto saved. It refreshes every 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and it saves your activity. So if you go here, go back to the place from where you have opened the worksheet. Okay, go back there, and where I have basics of Python, yeah. So you see here, I'm running this 01py, right? I see here it says last modified seconds ago. That means it's automatically saving my worksheet. Okay, if even if your system crashes, you will get the IPython notebook as it is. Okay, so we all here are using Python 3 only, right? Yeah, can be. Yeah, I mean, basically this is a version issue, and I don't know. I worked in a different system. Sometimes it takes print with bracket, without bracket, input, raw input. So basic differences, but yeah, nothing to worry about it. Okay, perfect. So this thing, just take care of it. It is getting, since it is getting auto saved, you don't need to worry about the. Okay, fine, Nirmal. And yeah, one more thing. Now we are talking about IPython notebook, IPyNB. Now if I go to if I go and open, this is my IPython notebook, IPyNB. If I open this, okay, and first of all, in my thing, it will not open. Let me try with any notepad I have. Okay, forget about it. So I will open it in some editor, code editor. Okay, this is my code editor. So if I go to online session, okay. So I just opened this. Why is that my terminal? Anyways, I just opened my the script which I'm using now. The same script I've opened outside the terminal, outside my IPython notebook, Anaconda. Okay, so outside Anaconda, the same script which you are seeing in a so structured form looks like this. Okay, so it is in a HTML format. Okay, even if I open any other project, if I go and open the one which we are seeing currently, okay, if I open this, I get this. Okay, so if you scroll down, so sometime you will be able to see the code that we are writing. Okay, so we wrote type C, right? But it is opening in this format. So the entire, in a nutshell, the story is this IPython notebook will only open from the Anaconda. Outside it, you cannot recognize what it is. It will be in this format. Okay. So how do we open it? Wherever we need to navigate it, we'll have to open in the browser. Clear, right? Okay. So obviously, this type of C will be your string. We have seen that, and that's pretty much in basics, right? So now I wanted to cover this. Mm, yeah. So let me cover this since we just started. Just cover basics of loops. Yeah. So before that, let me see if we have data structures. Okay. So let's start with we have seen inbuilt functions, and we have already seen inbuilt functions. So let's understand how this user defined function works. Okay. So okay. So here we'll see one or two example of how do we define a function, and we'll compare it with the methods. My idea is generally people get confused with methods and functions. So I just want to draw a clean understanding what the difference is. Okay. So when we talk about user defined function, so the function which we explicitly write for the session. Okay. So if I'm in this week one Jupyter notebook, this week one notebook, so this is a session for me. Okay. And if 01 Jupyter notebook, this is one session for me. Okay. Now, what is a difference if I have imported something here? Okay. That this will not be available here in this session. These are two different environments, not environments, these are two different sessions. Okay. If I define X here, it is not available here. Okay. Similarly, if I write function here, user defined function, that function is not available here. Okay. What is available is all the predefined things that Python has given you, like the system function, like min. This is available here. This will be available there as well, because that is provided by the language, but that is provided by the interpreter, Python. Okay. So this is one difference, session thing. And how do you define different session? If you go here, so all these things that is running parallelly, if you go to running and you see here so many things, these are so many different sessions that have opened. Okay, I can shut down that all is not needed. Uselessly it is. Okay, so leave it. Fine. So let's get into my another session. I will define a function. Okay, how do we define a function? Def function name, my first function. Okay, and then I give a parameter. So you remember when we saw np dot, let me, here np will not work because I'm not imported it. So see here, np do not exist. This is a good relation that we can build on. Here I've imported numpy. Okay, I was working like it was perfectly fine for me. If I write np dot, so it does not exist, I'll not get log because np does not exist. It already said name np does not exist, is not defined. So I'll have to import np again, numpy as np, import pandas as pd. Okay, It will take time to load. Then you can write np. It will tell you that it's a numpy, and this is a package. It is stored here. Okay, it does not say, it is not defined. So now let's say a log, and then if I just tab, so it says it accepts argument. So this argument is something which function accepts, whether it's a predefined system function or it's a user defined function. So similarly, in our function we'll have to pass an argument. So let's say I'm passing x comma y. I'll just take two inputs, okay, x and y. Now just give an extra care on the syntax. If you just after definition, function name, parameter, you need to put colon. Okay, the moment you put colon, the Python understands that you are working with a function. Okay, and since Python is an indentation based language, it is for a starters, per person who are starting, it creates a very, it annoys them. But yeah, this is how it is. It is a indentation based language. That means if you randomly keep on writing lines of code, okay, it will give you an error. So it follows an indentation. That means after colon, it will automatically direct you to the two tab space or one tab space. Okay, so you need to follow this, the tabbing. There's a space between the end of the line here and here. Okay, just see, you have one tab space. Okay, so you need to, if you, but IPython notebook, in some interpreter you'll have to manually maintain the tabs, indentation. But like luckily in this IPython notebook, you have this auto uh, control. They control it. But yeah, if you somehow, if you go there, take some spaces and start writing here code, it will give you error. See, it shows red. Okay, because this is wrongly intended. So just go back, you write return here, it gives you output. Okay, so let's do some calculation. I'll write on x is something x power y. Okay, and then I can print this. I'll write print. Okay, and then I'll run this. So once the moment I ran it, so I'll go to the next tab. So this function exists in this session. So now I'll just check this, copy this function name, and check if some help, I'm getting some help. So okay, where is the help? Okay, so the moment I write function name and with bracket and write press shift tab, I get the it says me that it exists in my local documents, online session, Python. It exists in my local. Okay, and then it takes two input. Let's say if it is hidden to me, I can understand it takes two input, x and y is my input. Okay, so I'll input my variable, let's say 2 comma 4. Two inputs mean two value. I'll run it. I get my output 16. 2 to the power of 4, 16. Right? Now, one thing that you could have asked, why I have not pressed return. So if you are familiar with any other programming language, return becomes compulsory. Some languages like C++, they return void, okay, by default. And some language like C, you need to explicitly mention return type, okay, what the function will return. Okay, but Python, it is not mandatory to write returns. Okay, so it automatically returns the output. Okay, one unique scenario that we'll encounter in future classes is what if that my function wants to return multiple values, x and y both. What will we do in that case? So we'll come to that once we see advanced functions. Okay, just comment it. Fine. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty of the function, because that is very important. Now let's copy the same function and understand the scope, which is confusing at times. And try and answer me this question. X is equal to 10. Y is equal to 2. Okay, I'm printing, and at the same time I'm calling a function here. So I'm calling a function here. I'm passing, let's say I'm not passing anything. Okay, this will give you error. Now if I run this, so since I'm uh, assigning x is equal to 10, y is equal to 10, y is equal to 2, and x and y are my input, print x and y. What should be my output? Should I, if I run this, uh, run it, I have ran it. Now if I call the function, it is not taking the value which is declared. Since I ran it on the same go, it is not accepting the value. Okay, the reason is that there's a concept called local and global variable. Local and global variable. Okay, what happens whenever you define a function? So the scope of the function becomes after the colon. Whatever you do after colon, it only bothers about that. What is happening outside that is global for it. Okay, this x and y is global for it. Though the variable name is exactly same, it is least bother about it because all the activities are happening above the function, above the function definition, above the function definition. So it will not consider x and y. Whenever you want to call the function, you'll have to explicitly mention the value of x and y. Okay, so you have seen this example. Let's say 10 and 2, I pass 2 and 2. So it will give me 4 rather than 100. It is not bothered about 10 and 2. It is not at all bothered about it because this is a global, this is out of the scope of this function. X and y is something which I'm inputting it on the parameter. It is considering that, not this x and y. Okay, but the moment I uh, define x is equal to 10, x is equal to let's say 7, and y is equal to 2, and x to the power of, to x to power 2, sorry, 7 to the power 2, 7 7 is 49. Okay, so when I run this function and when I call this function, okay, so I have just think about it like this. If I'll do one thing, I'll not pass any parameters. Now what I'll do is, I'm not passing any parameters. There are two values of x and y. You have x and y above the function, and you have x and y with inside the function. Okay, I'll run this. Okay, now I call this function. Since this is not accepting any parameter, so I'll not pass any parameters. So what do you think? What should be my output? 100 or 49? I guess is it going very fast? Let me know if it is going very fast.
It should be 49.
Yeah, so and the logic behind is,
I mean, the local variables, the function will always take the local variables, right? Yeah, with the, which that is defined inside it. So
exactly,
it will
exactly,
consider that one. Mhm.
exactly. So when so what when it becomes important is when we import data, when we do our data analytics, right? And we import the data and we create a function to data handle the data. So the it is I mean, like, it is not possible for us to use all the external parameters. So what we do is the variable name, the column names that we want to use, we pass in as a argument. So that there you will see a real implementation of this. Okay, so if I call this function, one minute. So when I call this function here, so I'll get 49 as my output, not 10. So this is a global scope. This is a global scope and this is a local scope. You need to understand this, and if you have any doubt, we can have like a lot more examples. But yeah, this is the gist in a way. Okay, and yeah, let's since we started with it, let's take some more examples. Let's talk about a function. I'll define a function called my second function. Okay, here I am passing x is x comma y comma z is equal to 10. Okay, what I'll do is I will do what can I do? Let's simply print x plus y plus z, for example. Okay, that's it, and then I'll call this function my second function. So yeah, you start using tab a lot because it becomes very easy. It's very handy. Now I have three parameters, x, y, and 10. 10 I have declared as 10. Z I have declared as 10. So if I pass, let's say, I pass, let's say, 10, comma, 10, comma. Okay, so I have declared three variables, x, y, z, and I'm passing two variables. So in this case, it will work. Why? Because if I don't pass any value, here in my first function, if I just pass 10 and run it, it will give me error. It says my first function takes 0 positional argument, but one was given. It takes two arguments and only one was given. So you need to pass two values. What was this? Okay, sorry, I removed it, right? So it takes 0 positional argument. It does not take any argument. It says it takes 0 argument, positional argument, and I have passed two were given. That was wrong. So I need to declare xy, let's say, and then do x and y. So it is running likewise. If I pass one even, I'll get an error. Missing one argument. Okay, one more is required. It says that you have declared, when you've declared the function, two argument was like declared as an input, but you are passing only one. Okay, so remove this. You got the error, right? Now let's come to our example. Here I am passing three arguments. Okay, one I have just declared 10 there. Okay, then if I pass two, it will run. What is happening? Basically, two I'm passing x and y. 10 I have already declared. Okay, so it is taking 10 by default as z as 10. But if I pass 20, what will happen? Any idea? If I pass the third argument, what should happen? Guys, try and answer a question because it becomes very helpful in understanding. That's the reason. Now, there's a concept of
I
overriding.
have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When I'm defining this, my second function, and like the same way you did, so I'm getting an error, invalid syntax.
Yeah, so the error is because of the indentation. Okay, so have you given colon? Just after colon,
Okay.
press enter and start writing the code like this. Initially, you will face challenge.
Yeah, it's fine. No.
Yeah, that is only because there is no other thing that you can. Okay, so yeah, so the question is, the answer is, the moment you declare a default. So this is a default declaration. Okay, many a times when we create models. Okay, so model works on hyperparameters. Okay, so we have let's say gradient descent and all those stuffs that we do to optimize the model. There are n number of parameters. A lot of parameters by default they have values. Okay, gradient descent will be 10, iteration will be 1000, number of value of k will be 5. So they have all this thing by default. But if you want to optimize a model according to yourself based on your data, you can override it. So the moment you declare it explicitly, this value will be nullified. This 10 will be nullified and this value will be accepted. Okay, so you see here you get 40. This value is nullified. Okay, so you can only skip those variable which has a default value. If y, since y is not having any default value, you cannot skip it from here. It will give you an error. Okay, I guess we are good, right? Oh, okay. So let's, in function we have a lot to discuss. Okay, which we'll see with examples in coming time. I guess we are good for today. Okay, I've already shared the